Hello and welcome to OS Talk. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Charles445, an avid mapper and modder. We're going to give him a few questions today, and hopefully we'll have a good time. So, for my first question, what first got you into modding? Did you map before or after you started modding? What was it like?
I started mapping long before I started modding because I didn't actually know that modding was a thing until I started looking to get my maps included in the game. So what ended up happening is everybody pointed me to the chat channel #mod, which is what it was called back in the day. It was a combination of requests and overall discussion. In there were a couple people who were very friendly, very nice. Actually, a lot of the older bats were in there, and they were the ones who gave me the first feedbacks on my early maps. It was at that point I realized that the best way to get the attention from people is to help out other people with their own projects. So that's when I started running around modding quite a bit. I wasn't very good at it though.
Nobody starts out perfect. So, for my next question, when did you decide that you wanted to be part of the BAT? Was it something you were working towards, or did it just kind of happen?
Once I got comfortable with mapping and modding in general, or at least my perception of comfortable for the time, which was 2011, I decided to start being more active in the bubbling and popping scene, just, sticking around those places a lot, trying to see what the Matt and Bao were doing, maybe talk to them about certain things. Every once in a while I would show up on a bubbled map, look for something unrankable, and ask them to fix it. I can't actually make it happen because I'm not a Matt at that point. And so I hoped that that would help me get into the team more. I'm not sure if it did or not. There isn't really a way to tell what got you into the team because honestly, there's no big status bar that says, you're this close to being in the team. You just kind of have to guess. But I feel like sticking around the bubbles and pops did help a little bit.
Well, as you can see, it most certainly did. For my next question, did you enjoy working with the BAT? And has it helped your mapping and modding since joining?
Yeah, I'd say I enjoy it. I mean, if I didn't enjoy it, I would have left like 2 years ago. But I wouldn't say that being a bat helps you with mapping, because the real way to get better at mapping is to look at the maps that people are making, the ones that are like popular or notorious for something in them, and asking yourself why are these maps popular and trying to analyze them. I wouldn't say being a bat gets you better at mapping. It might show you interesting problems that you would otherwise not run into in maps when you find really bizarre unrankable errors, but now, just looking at ranked maps gets you better at that. As far as modding is concerned, well, being a bat does help your modding in the sense that you do have a standard that you're expected to keep, which is be constructive, don't be rude, that sort of thing. Of course, we take liberties occasionally. Not intentionally. But it does. You are expected to be a nice fellow and be constructive in the BAT team. So yes, it does help you get better at modding.
Alright, that's great. So my next question is, do you think this has changed anything in how you see modders today? Has it adjusted your outlook at all?
I don't think being in the BAT changes how you look at mods in general. I always figured as mods as a way for a mapper to get help from somebody who's taking a look at it on the outside so they can get a different perspective on things. And that's pretty much what it has been. I mean, being a bat, you start looking at it more on the technical side rather than the opinion side, because your main idea is to, check it for rankability and then give suggestions on the side as to improvements. But not really. Overall, I would say no. It's still about trying to help people with their stuff and help it get better.
I agree 100%. Helping the community is first and foremost here. So that brings us to our next question. So, most of us know by now that you're a BAT manager, and that's pretty cool. But since then, do you feel that you've improved even more in the modding process, or do you feel that you're still at the same level of modding that you were when you were original BAT?
I don't think I have gotten better in the modding process, mainly because when you're a BAT manager, you're not actually doing much of the modding yourself. You're actually looking at everyone else's mods. You don't have enough time to do it yourself. Yeah. So no, it definitely doesn't help you get better at modding. What it does help you with is looking at other people's mods, not your own.
All right, that's a little bit of an insight there to the daily life of a bat manager. But getting to the next question, what's your favorite part about being a bat manager?
I think the favorite part about being a bat manager is to watch people just kind of grow in the community in general and, you know, get to the point that they become bat. I mean, a lot of times when you're in the bat manager position, you start seeing people who a few years ago you helped with their first map, and now suddenly you're pushing them into the red name status. It's actually really exciting when that happens, because it's all these people that you've known before, and you're getting to help them achieve what they've been striving for the past year or so. It's pretty nice, actually.
All right. Now, to move off the bat subject just a little bit, let's go ahead and talk about some of the mappers and modders that may have inspired you. That leads me to my next question, of course. What mappers helped you shape your early style? And are they still active today?
We're talking about mappers who shaped early style. The first one that comes to mind would be Lardo. And the reason Lardo is because he basically established, rather not established, but refined the tidy mapping to the drums and a combination of flow and symmetry that was surprisingly detailed and deep for the time. I mean, Lardo was absolutely a year or two ahead of his time, for sure. After that, I would say Lacataline is a pretty interesting one. Lacataline is currently my favorite mapper, and the reason for that is there is the case of Chaotic, the map where I realized that every notion, every concept that I knew about the game was completely wrong, and that I had to rethink it all. Just because of one little map, I was like, oh no, everything I know is wrong, I have to start over. And I believe that was the turning point where I started going, okay, what's really happening? And I feel like that moment was the biggest thing that shaped my mapping style, would be Lacataline's Chaotic map. Lardo officially quit a long time ago, which was a little sad to see him go, but I mean, he had reasons, and I don't think anybody really blamed him for it. Lacataline probably got, haven't seen her around in a while. She's probably still here, we just don't notice. But she seems to be taking a break from mapping in general.
Yeah, I was sad to see Lardo go too. I really didn't pay too much attention to Lacataline, but I've always liked her maps. But speaking of maps, and my next question, I've noticed there's quite a lack of new Charles maps out there. Are you still planning on making more? Or have we seen the end of Charles445?
New maps, I mean, I plan on making more sometimes. What ends up happening is that there isn't something good to work with. Like, I haven't found a track that would, you know, work well with the game, or I struggle getting through it due to length, or I can't come up with ideas or whatnot. And so I always cycle through my old projects, see if there's anything that I'm interested in, and it usually ends up being abandoned for perfectly good reasons. So I'd go into this cycle where I can't think of something hasn't come out that's any good, or my old projects aren't inspirational at all. I do have a marathon impending right now. It's going to be my first and probably only marathon, but I don't know. It's not really easy to get a 12-minute map ranked by any means. I don't know who would want to sit through that.
Well, the Perfect Chaos Open Your Heart remix is, you know, still sitting in there. You know, maybe, just possibly, you could maybe try to get that ranked. But last but not least, for the final question, if there was a feature that you can have in the game today, what would that feature be? And please don't say hold notes.
I think if there were to be one feature added, it would definitely be live mapping. It's been considered and pitched many, many times in the past for years now, and it's always been a pretty good idea. And the reason for that is it's much easier to teach someone by showing them what's going on rather than trying to explain it with a jumbled mess of words or a poorly created tutorial video. I am very guilty of that. Yeah! If that's too overreaching as far as the feature is concerned, it's too hard to make. The other one would be horizontal mirror mode. And the reason horizontal mirror mode would be nice is because mapping, you often have to, if you're doing it on a relatively advanced level, you'll be focusing on what direction players spin on spinners. Some players spin clockwise, some players spin counterclockwise. Some patterns are easier depending on what direction you spin, and it would be nice to be able to map to a specific direction and not have to worry about conflicts, because people who can't play it in that direction will just flip it around. It'd be great.
Well, that's actually a pretty interesting feature. That wouldn't be bad to show. Well, that brings us to a close today, and me and Charles would both like to thank you all for watching. And remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this today. Well, this is Oast Talk signing out, and we'll see you real soon.